Hi everyone, thanks for coming back and tuning into another episode of One Tip Cricket. As you can see, we have our sixth person joining us today, who was supposed to be here last time, but was enjoying dinner instead. So just to keep things differentiated, there's four of us that are bald, but we're going to make things easy. I'm always wearing a hat. Uzair has
always
the
wearing a
biggest headphones with the biggest glasses in the room. Asad has Bluetooth
sporting a
headphones
summer look.
and
Bluetooth headphones.
sporting a summer look. And then I guess by default, Hamad has the fourth look. So the topic we're going over today is based on recent events in Pakistan cricket news. We've all seen that Umar Akmal is once again in the limelight for things that he should never have been. Akmal is easily one of the most disappointing players in Pakistan cricket history. But if you think about like players that could that actually had potential, unlike Umar Akmal, we thought of doing a topic where we talk about players that personally didn't live up to their expectations for each and every one of us. And to kick us off is going to be Umar.
Yeah. I initially was going to go with Umar Gul, and then 2 days ago, as I told you guys, I happened to come across like the highlights of the Mohali debacle, and I was like, fuck this, matlab Umar Gul ki jitni kut lagi thi at the start, the end of the innings, I was like, no way. But going with like fast bowlers, I kind of came up with Junaid Khan. He's had like a weird career. Okay, statistically, agar dekho to, I mean, he's done well. His ODI stats are good. He's had one of those careers where काफी सारी highlights होती हैं and you remember कि हाँ यार इसने Champions Trophy में अच्छा खेला था, इसकी एक South Africa की series अच्छी हुई थी. But it's been weird because like there's never been like a sustained year or a couple of years where he's been like really good, and like based on like his talent, he was on par with Amir early on. Didn't really like develop into the sort of fast bowler that I thought he could have become. So, I mean, I thought it was disappointing. I mean, he's had a decent career, I guess, but especially with like Amir out for 5 years and no real top fast bowler in like the last 6-7 years who kind of dominated, I think he really could have kicked on और काफी और खेल सकता था और काफी और अच्छा कर सकता था. So, yeah.
That's interesting. So I also was thinking about him, but his stats are actually pretty good. Like if you look at his ODI stats, he's averaging 29 with a striker of 32.7.
Which is really up there in this era.
Yeah. I mean, he made his debut in 2011, and
but he's also played like I was looking. He's played like 76 games or something.
Yeah, he's played 76 games.
For
an economy of 5.35.
Yeah, but for someone who's been around for like 10 years, I mean, 76 games is on the lower side. And it's also weird because he's had good stats, but there hasn't been like a time where he's had like a few series where he's been like really good. He's had a couple of series
where he's been brilliant.
Hamisha he's like the guy who comes in
average uska ek issue ye bhi to hai na, his injuries has caused him massive issues which has kept him out. I think that's been one of his main issues as well.
Yeah, but that's most fast bowlers, I guess.
No, not at the Junaid Khan level, because he had two major ones, right? Like one was at some part of his core, and then he also had the classic fast bowler hamstring injury. So
yeah,
and he never really fully recovered from either. Like his rehabilitation was always questionable throughout. So it wasn't like he was coming back with a changed action or changed anything to deal with what had happened to his body. So it was also he fell away because of that.
Yeah, which I guess
you look at the top fast bowlers like Stain, or if you look at bowlers like Stain or Amir or some of the other guys, the Indian bowlers, Bumrah, etc. Like they've all had continuous runs for years, right? So you need to keep your fitness up. So maybe one can argue that his fitness has disappointed his talent. So anyway,
I definitely agree with that statement that Asad had about the fitness being the disappointing factor.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that did derail his career, but even when he was playing, like there wasn't a time where you could have said, "Yaar, ye banda jo hai, wo like he is fulfilling that talent. कि मतलब ये 3-4 series consecutively, he's like a top fast bowler. I mean, even in like the ODIs, I was looking, he doesn't have a single 5-wicket haul.
Yeah.
And it tests as well. I mean, there's never been like a dominant like stretch of form. So
That 2012
anyways.
series though.
The
Was
Asia Cup?
And that
No, in
Yorker to
India.
Sangakkara in
That-
Dubai.
Oh yeah.
In India, the one with him and Irfan, and then the ridiculous tracks in Sri Lanka against Sangakkara, where he got the ball to come in, clip the stumps, not take the bails, and then 2 balls later do the exact same thing to get the off stump flying out of the ground. That was something
Yeah, man.
special.
I mean, he could do a lot with the ball. So it was just maybe it's also like he didn't also develop that extra yard of pace compared to Amir.
Yeah, that's a good point.
With his physique falling apart, I mean, pace is physical as well, right?
I mean,
fair. Who's next? Rana is next, right?
Yeah, Rana, your pick.
So it was pretty tough to come up with one, but I went with more like a left field option. So I went with Asim Kamal in test matches.
Mm.
Legend.
Huh?
The legend who didn't play.
Yeah, so the guy played
Legend who
12
didn't play
matches.
enough.
The guy played 12 matches, 20 innings, average of 38 roughly. And in those 20 innings, he made 850s. And the most impressive was that he made a 99 in South Africa on his debut. He played in Australia and Sydney and scored 87 against the famous attack of McGrath, Warren, Gillespie. So I think that's definitely one batsman that we missed out on in the long run.
Sure.
Who did we replace him with? Like who kind of took his place?
Could have just
Mohammad Hafiz.
disappeared.
Hafiz.
A lot of it was
Umar.
politics. Politics was
Yeah,
a big
so-
part of it. Asad Shafiq was a big part of it.
Asad
Coaches,
Shafiq is
man,
not related to Asim
No,
Kamal. क्या बात कर रहे
असद
हो यार?
शफीक कहाँ से आ गया
असद
भाई?
शफीक ये तो तुमने
बहुत टाइम
पता
बाद
नहीं-
आया था असद शफीक तो.
Asim Kamal was early 2000s, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
he
yes.
debuted,
100%.
I think, in
Asim,
2002 or 2003.
and he lost his spot to chaps like Faisal Iqbal and Mohammad Hafiz and just a bunch of
yeah.
other
Sorry.
randos making their runs.
12 games,
हसन
he
रजा आ
played
जाता था
over-
बीच में टीम में उस जमाने में.
So these 12 games he played over a span of 3 years. So, it kind of shows that he was in and out of the team continuously.
Yeah. No substance to why he was dropped.
Yeah.
What's
I
the
don't know if you
theory though?
guys-
क्या पर्ची सीन था क्या था उस जमाने में क्या चल रहा था? I'm
Ulta
trying
scene
to
था
think.
भाई.
Games, it was politics. So uska ek pura lamba
Politics.
hai where he says
what could
that the
Asim Kamal have
I
done?
mean, I'm willing to put it in controversial terms. It was the whole like Karachi scene basically.
So
That
Asim
was it.
Kamal was basically the original Fawad Alam.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Fawad Alam is Asim Kamal on steroids because Asim Kamal still kind of like went away. Fawad Alam just kept playing domestic. Is still playing domestic. And still
I had
doesn't-
a
Not
tough-
just playing, he's breaking records in domestic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
picking
he's like
between I was actually picking between Asim Kamal and Fawad Alam. That was
he's
my
the pioneer.
final selection.
He's the
Oh
pioneer.
yeah, so that's why I
OG
went
is
with
Asim
him.
Kamal.
He's
So
the
what's funny is-
Saklan Mushtaq of this field.
But the sad part is Fawad Alam actually played, so despite his domestic records and everything, the guy only got 3 test matches, whereas Asim Kamal still got 12. So
And I
Fawad
think
Alam definitely got-
एक या दो टेस्ट मैचेस में उसने बॉलिंग ज्यादा कराई थी बैटिंग के मुकाबले में, right? There was a
हाँ,
moment
exactly.
where he was bowling more than batting. Which
तीन तो
was like,
मैचेस खेले थे बेचारे ने यार।
So what's
तो 3
funny?
मैचेस में से भी एक पे 168 बनाया था उसने हाई स्कोर।
So
This is
what's
Fawad
it-
Alam, right?
सीड
Yeah.
ऑफ ही हो गया। Yeah, Fawad Alam.
So what's
Yeah, that was
interesting
his
is in
debut
that
test,
era,
huh?
that you're talking about, Yunus Khan was also trying to break into the team, and he wasn't making it in. Right, 2002 was when he was trying to enter the Pakistan team as a test player, and he was struggling as well with the same, Pathan background with the Karachi domicile, still having those issues, and it took him a while to solidify his spot in the team as well. That could be because Yunus Khan was just, again, one of those phenomenal players who was just persevering. But it's interesting at that time what was happening, and we were still seeing that almost 20 years later, 18 years later.
Yeah, you're right. Khan actually got in 2004. That's when he became a permanent in the test squad.
Yunus Khan could have taken that Asim Kamal spot then, right? Like I was thinking like who
Yeah, so Asim Kamal
kind of
basically
came
made-
and took his.
So Asim used to come at 5, which is basically where I think Yunus Khan also started. So you had Yusuf at 4, and in the debut match that he played, you have Yasir Hamid at 3, and Tawfiq Umar and Imran Farhat opening.
Oh, Tawfiq Umar.
So where would Inzi come then, yaar? If he would come at
Inzi
used to play 5.
Inzi was probably injured, or I don't know why he didn't play this game. But looking at the scorecard,
That's a good pick. I like it.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Asad?
Good pick. Am I next?
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, it's Pakistan. So, I mean, disappointment is the middle name of the Pakistan cricket team. So it's been super tough. I literally had 4 or 5 guys I was rubbing my head over. But I finally went with Umar Amin for me. So for me, just because I'd seen Umar Amin play over the years, especially in the domestic circuit, the guy was phenomenal. I mean, he played like 130 odd first-class matches, averaged roughly 40. He had a high score of like 280. I think he scored something like 20 centuries plus. He had a list A average pretty high as well, roughly 40 as well, or maybe slightly under that. And beyond that, I mean, he had leadership capacity in him. He was captain of Port Qasim. He was captain of Pakistan a few years back. He's captain of the northern region. So, when he was coming into the squad, I was personally really excited. I was like, after so long, we have someone with, leadership qualities, someone who's performed, a good middle order batsman. I mean, let's face it, since Inzi and Yunus, etc., or Johanna, etc.'s departure, we haven't got solid middle order players. And so I thought that he could hopefully fill that gap, but he just could not perform. I mean, he played 16 ODIs. He averaged, under 20. Reminds me of all our batting averages in New York. But
Tumhari under 10, right? Don't pad up your average.
जाफी तो यही स्पीच जो है अपनी इस पे उमर अमीन की जगह फवाद आलम डाल दो तो यही कहानी बनती है.
And then Test it was even more dismal. I mean, the guy he played only 4 Test matches. You can argue he should have played more, but he averaged something like 12 or 13 in that. So Umar Amin for me, I think, was personally really disappointing.
How good was he in domestic cricket? Did you get a chance to look?
Yeah, I mentioned that. So he had an average of roughly 40. He scored 20 centuries and he scored over 8,000 runs in like 130 first-class matches.
Oh, wow.
So
what's interesting?
Is he still playing?
He's still playing. He's the captain of the northern region. One of your regions. There's only 6 teams now, so he's captain.
So what's interesting?
Performance उसकी है domestic.
इस show के बाद inspire हो जाएगा.
So what's interesting is that Umar Amin at one point was targeted to be a captain, targeted to be the captain of Pakistan. So he was being brought in to be groomed. The expectation was that he will perform regardless of what happens, and that he will eventually take over captaincy. That was.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he's had 1 or 2 good performances lately in international. One in that New Zealand series a few years ago, where we got whitewashed in the ODI series, but did well in the T20s. He played well there, but since then he's, I mean, throughout his career he's been, I wouldn't even say subpar. He's just been bad at the international level.
Yeah,
and that's really disappointing.
Unfortunately.
And that's really disappointing to see, considering how much potential that guy had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I avoided the bowlers because we really needed a batsman. I mean, our middle order currently, beyond Babar, we don't have a middle order. Haris Sohail has shown glimpses, but we could really use a solid middle order batsman. So it's disappointing. It बहुत time बाद because batsman का potential था, but international पे वो कर नहीं पाया.
Yeah, so I mean, my pick was also using that same logic. Like I looked at batsmen, and the one that always comes to my mind in terms of, someone who had a lot of talent but never made it up was Yasir Hamid. Started as an opener, the second player to score 2 centuries in a match at that time, although it was against Bangladesh, but still. And then, he had really good technique, was a solid player all around, and his cover drives were exquisite. So that's what I remember most. And then he just tailed off and got starts and never really converted them. both in ODIs and in test matches. And the test match end was really weird. I still don't understand what happened, but he made 250s in Sydney and then was dropped for the next game. And so a lot of it was inconsistent selection, which again, like typical Pakistan fashion, right? You have a player who has talent, but he's not backed up and is thinking more about his spot than about playing and performing. So he just tailed off after that. And never really made a comeback. And it's interesting, he's actually like made 12,000 runs in first class cricket, like with 25 centuries, although his average is about 35, so lower than someone like Umar Amin. But even T20s, he's played 57 games, has a century in T20s, averages 33, strike rate of 112. So definitely had the talent, but never really lived up to that full potential. And I was watching some of the highlights, and the guy had a really good technique. So it's just one of those things where he never was able to, like many Pakistani batsmen who had a lot of talent, but then people figured them out and they never really adjusted to that and kept throwing his wickets away with starts and eventually just didn't play again for the country.
He had a pretty high backlift, right? If I recall, like you look like another Amir Sohail, basically.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that he also played in that 2010 that spot fixing series.
And he had controversy around it. He made some remarks about being approached for spot fixing, and never really. Then he said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have made those remarks." But he was never really found. But yeah, he was in that team.
He played in that ODI series.
No, he was in that. He was an opener in that test squad.
And he played the ODI series where Hafiz made his comeback. And the reason why I say that is because Yasir Hamid's career reminds me of Hafiz's career and should have basically how Hafiz's career should have ended.
Hafiz learned to bowl.
It happened to Yasir Hamid.
Hafiz learned how to bowl to left.
By the way, was Yasir a better Uzi? Was he a better opener or a better like one-down player? I mean,
he was a better opener, man. Him and Imran Farhat hit 4 consecutive century partnerships against at the top order against New Zealand at home. So they were at that time, like, people were thinking of them as the next best opening pair Pakistan would have had since Anwar and Amir. And then both of them fell apart.
Yeah, I think मुझे पता तुम किस चीज की बात कर रहे हो. तुम उस वाली की बात कर रहे हो. उसका नाम
2003 में हुई थी.
Dhamaka series.
I think
this is the one where there was a bombing in front of where New Zealand were staying.
Yeah, I think that was the one.
That might have something to do with those partnerships.
Yeah. No, I think it was before that. It was 2003.
That's really odd, yeah, because we were struggling. We were struggling for openers, so that's actually, you're right. That's pretty odd.
He made runs in Australia. He was like, pretty decent. So I don't know. He's 42. He's done now. I mean, he's done. But yeah, he made some runs in England. He made runs in Australia. He made runs against West Indies. But never.
He was also good to watch, I remember.
He was really, that's why I remember him. Like his cover drive. Yeah, his timing, he was really good off his legs and he was a really good driver of the ball.
Yeah, but I think he suffered the same thing that, somebody, again, not like as bad of a player as his record says, like Ahmed Shahzad, he didn't have the ability to hit the ball softly. You didn't really have to think that much against him in setting a field because the intention was always to hit the ball hard. And
he played in an era where it was okay to bat at a strike rate of 75.
Yeah, but again, these are guys who get stuck at the crease and don't know how to get off strike and rotate strike to build runs. And then once they're stuck, they eventually, frustration mein aake out ho jate.
Yeah. Short.
Anyway.
Who's your pick?
So I had a tough time picking between 2 players. So one was Ahmed Shahzad, and the other one, which I eventually picked, was Shoaib Akhtar. And
legend one day, disappointment the next.
So what's interesting is that I picked Shoaib Akhtar in my all-time 11 last week, and the simple reason is that he's played 46 Test matches, 163 ODIs, and picked up 178 wickets in those 46 Test matches and 247 in ODIs. He's not going down as an all-time great in anyone's books, but in my opinion, he should have been. He had the absolute raw talent and the brains to be able to bowl at the highest level consistently and do well. He's been surrounded by controversy. He's been surrounded by bans. He's been surrounded by injuries. That 2-year ban in 2006 for using performance enhancement drugs is pretty much what killed his career. Where he was at the peak right before that, and he just went from being at his peak to being banned for 2 years, not being able to play, and then come back and then try to revive his career. And that those 2 years, in my opinion, were what could have made him a legend, worldwide legend, not just a Pakistani legend. It's just disappointing to see how little he achieved, even though he was just one of my favorite bowlers to watch at any time. Just him charging down the field, bowling quick, just bowling raw pace. That spell in Colombo to Australia where he got Gilly, oh my God, was just brilliant. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see more of that. Yeah, I mean, those incidents with Asif, hitting him with the bat. Hilarious story. I don't know if anyone's read his book, but Afridi had cracked a joke at Akhtar's expense. Asif had laughed at him while being in the bathroom, and Akhtar pulled him out of the bathroom and swung a bat at both of them. Missed Afridi and hit Asif, and got banned for
Someone
that.
should have recorded that, man. That would have been.
Hey, this is the pre iPhone era.
He once got banned for abusing Paul Adams in New Zealand.
Why would you abuse Paul Adams?
Like why? Kyun?
You can.
Yeah.
It's just disappointing to see that his career has been marked by those controversies rather than his absolute brilliance. In the 2011 World Cup, when he wasn't bowling at his peak, and in the 2010 series in England, where he wasn't bowling at his peak pace, he was still a smart bowler. He knew lengths and lines to bowl. He knew how to move the ball. He knew what you needed to do to get a batsman out, and it's just disappointing. His spell in Australia to Ponting was, again, I wish I'd seen more of him. But yeah, my first experience watching a game live was him bowling to Australia in the 1998 October series, where Mark Taylor was destroying us, and him charging in all afternoon, bowling raw pace. And again, I just wish that the cricketing world had gotten to see more of Shoaib Akhtar.
That was an interesting
How many test wickets did he end up with?
He ended up with 178 test wickets.
Yeah, not enough for someone
with an average of 25, and a strike rate of 45. And that strike rate.
How many test matches?
76.
No, 46.
46.
Oh man,
that's very low, yeah. That's really low.
That is super low. Over 15 years, that's like super low.
That's nothing.
Injury की वजह से भी था, I think.
He played his first test match, I think, in 1998, and he retired from test cricket in 2007.
मुझे अभी तक याद है जब when he was playing and Tawqir Zia was PCB chairman, हर दूसरे दिन खबर आती थी Tawqir Zia trying to manafy Shoaib Akhtar.
Even with Inzamam, he had that long running feud.
Yeah. Tawqir Zia he didn't have a feud with Tawqir Zia. Yeah.
So it's very well documented that Inzi and him just didn't get along because they thought that he was this playboy druggie who, in that report to PCB, they say that they call out his sexuality, call him a sexually active male that is loose with drugs.
He was also sent back from that Australia series. Yeah. Remember when he went out?
Partying, yeah.
I also don't know how much he doesn't reveal, by the way, in terms of his also his injuries. Like, he talks about it a lot now, about his knee pain and all of that. I wonder how much of that had a factor as well, right? It
My
wasn't
legs, my
as
knees.
pronounced in those days, but abhi kafi bolte hai ki my knees, all of that.
तो भाई अब बोलते हैं वो सुनता भी तो नहीं था उस वक्त रन अप छोटा कर लो तो किसी की सुनता भी नहीं था but anyways
But
that
he's
was
getting
a
a
good pick.
Chalo, yeah,
he's getting a knee
we're
replacement
going
surgery.
overboard with Shoaib Akhtar right
Oni,
now.
your turn.
Yeah, so kind of similar theme as Khurram's, where I think my pick is not going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people right away, but I went a little specific with the format, and I finalized on Yunus Khan as an ODI batsman. So when you talk about Yunus Khan in Pakistan cricket, right, especially in like the last 15-20 odd years, he's easily remembered as the greatest batsman that Pakistan has had in these last 2 decades. But it's entirely focused on Test cricket, right? And from my perspective, you can translate from Test cricket to other formats, but you can't pick up other formats and translate success to Test cricket. Like Test cricket still is the ultimate, definition of like where you can go and like prove your worth and prove your ground as a bowler or a batsman. And for a guy who had the Test career that he did, averaging above 50, probably one of the most ridiculous conversion rates of all time for turning 50s into hundreds. Like, I don't know if you guys know this off the top of your heads, but he had 34 100+ scores and 33 50 to 99 scores. Like that is absolutely insane when you think about, being able to build and carry an innings. And then when you look at his ODI career, there's so much left to be desired, especially given that period was just, the Inzamam playing far past his due date, Mohammad Yusuf, going down the same route. And then we always needed someone who was going to be like a solid batsman and live up to the Inzamam legacy or the Mohammad Yusuf legacy in that middle order. But Yunus never did. When I think of Yunus Khan, the Test batsman, and I see that he only had seven centuries in one-day cricket, and that his dismissal average was basically like less than 32. He just has some very bizarre figures. Like he even ended up hitting more sixes in test matches than he did in ODI cricket. That's probably another outlier. Okay? Very few people can make these sort of like weird achievements. So yeah.
So why do we think he underachieved in ODIs?
Because I mean, you'd have to watch like the tape of probably all of his matches again. But I just think that in that like limited overs environment, he just was at times like a little bit rash with his decision making. Yunus never really like cemented his ODI legacy to a point where at any point in time you felt that this guy was becoming like a run scoring machine. Whereas in Test cricket, he just found ways to get out.
Yeah, he just couldn't adjust into the format, and he played loose shots, played them mostly at the wrong moment when the team needed him the most. And a lot of times he built pressure on himself, right? He wouldn't keep up with the strike rate or something like that, and then he would get out.
I think like what made him.
Huh?
I thought like what made him.
Inzi got him run out.
I think Inzi got him run out. Inzi got Yusuf run out more than anyone else.
That's the partnership for the record.
Those are both horrible run outs.
Yeah, they were both terrible.
Yeah. No, I was saying that I thought that what made him successful in Test cricket, I think kind of took away from, what he could have become in ODIs, because in Test cricket, he could really build an innings, and he was always known for, kind of spending time on the crease, getting in, just, not getting out and being able to play with everyone else around him. Or ODIs you don't have that much time to start with, and I think it just, I don't know, it never really worked out for him.
I don't think I'd agree with you don't have that much time, because you're still talking about the 50-over format. I mean, look at his T20 career. He achieved the highest status anyone can. He captained his national side to victory. He was the captain of our T20 team. I think it's a little difficult to say that this guy just couldn't get out of Test cricket and play limited overs.
Was he like always bad at ODIs, or was it just?
No, he had short periods. Like I think there's like one span where he made 2 centuries within 15 games. it's not like he didn't get 50s. You know, he still made 48 ODI 50s, but I think he just like probably like as I said, just took too much pressure on himself, because that's kind of what you know, his personality is also known for from other people in the dressing room.
And I mean, you have to put his career in context again as well.
Of
Right?
course,
Long running feuds with the board, his position always under question, under a cloud, and him trying to prove a point all the time, which he did in Test cricket. But in one days, it just didn't work for him for whatever.
And again, you know, to conclude, I'm not saying that he had a terrible ODI career. Like, the guy still made 7,000 runs. You know, he made plenty of match-winning knocks. I'm just saying that for his caliber, he just wasn't there. Like,
Rana, what do you think?
One last point, by the way. I have one point on this as well, which I'd love to know is, like, how many matches did he captain, and then how poorly did he do? Because if my memory serves me correct, he had a pretty tough time in captaincy as well,
you
right?
shouldn't trust your memory as someone who's lived with you. But
कैप्टनसी पे तो साजिश हो गई थी यार बेचारे के साथ.
तो कुरान पे वादे किए कराए गए थे.
शोएब मलिक ने कहा था भाई, he went to the hotel.
Quran gate.
No, but that all affects you as a player also, right? Uske after effects and a lot. I mean, I'll defend Yunus Khan till the end of the world, but yeah, I think that all has an effect here. You know,
it didn't affect his test career. Let's just put it that way. It didn't affect his test career, right? So it's like it's not two personalities. It's still
I mean, he was kicked out of the team at the prime of his career, right? He still talks about that time period as, you know, he was thrown out of the team at the prime of his career.
So one common thing that one common thing that's emerged from all our picks is like the role of the PCB in screwing over people, by the way. And the way they're selected and thrown around or whatever, it's like
run by a bunch of...
Even with Asad's pick, Umar Amin, maybe they put too much pressure on him, saying that they're
captain banayenge, right? And then it's also the board's responsibility. If a player's found wanting with technique or whatever, then you also give them the right tools to adjust, right? Which is also what PCB is not really good at.
There are a bunch of old cricketers who know nothing about running a board.
Not always a good cricketer. Sometimes it's a bunch of old guys who know nothing.
Yeah.
What is... You're running a professional organization.
Yeah.
You're running a professional organization. You're not running, you know, a committee party. It needs to be run by professionals.
Perfect representation of our government. What do you expect?
Oof.
Society पे आ जाओ, तभी government छोड़ो, ये society पे आ जाओ.
That's a good. I feel that's a good way to end the show.
End this show. There is
before we have the
yes, Top Gear में कह रहे थे on that bombshell.
And on that bombshell.
Do we now want to do honorable mentions? I'll run through my list of honorable mentions. So I had Ahmed Shahzad, Mohammad Asif, Wahab Riaz, Umar Gul, Raza Hassan. And Nasir Jamshed. Sorry, Nasir Jamshed.
Nasir Jamshed.
I had Anwar Ali and Fawad.
Who's next?
यार तुम उसकी खुदा के लिए वो 19 इसकी under 19 वीडियो देखना छोड़ दो.
यार वो जब तक मर नहीं जाएगा ना, और उसके बाद भी जो है वो वीडियो चलती रहेगी. That banana swing.
So I had Fawad Alam on the batting side, and then I had Yasir Shah, particularly in ODIs, and then obviously the disappointing factors of Salman Butt and Asif. So those were my honorary mentions.
Rana.
So I had Asif, Amir, Salman Butt, Umar Akmal, Imran Nazir, Fawad Alam, and out of the blue one, Mohammad Zahid.
Yeah.
So let's just assume
faster than Shoaib Akhtar.
Let's just assume that everyone had Umar Akmal on their list.
Yeah.
This show is dedicated to Umar Akmal.
I had Salman Butt, Mohammad Sami, Yasir Shah in ODIs, and what was the other guy's name? Mohammad Asif.
Okay. You guys went real deep. I only thought of like 2 or 3 other guys. Yasir Shah in ODIs was definitely one of them. But I think the guy who has lately disappointed me the most is someone who I thought was a great prospect, Sami Aslam. When we finally had found somebody who had like good batting technique as an opener, all ruined over one plate of nihari.
Nihari.
No, it was
Kadai,
biryani.
it was
I
kadai.
was confused.
कढ़ाई
यार कढ़ाई थी, बिरयानी थी, निहारी थी, I don't care. I'm just
मतलब
saying
निहारी
कि
तक नहीं थी, which is like
इतना solid
कढ़ाई
career, इतना solid career हो सकता था बंदे का, because that space was open. The opening start
Yeah.
in Test cricket when he was around, that was open. And this, in comes this like 18, 19, I don't know what his real age is, but like, PCB age of 18, 19 chap, super solid, like compact technique, knows how to like not let his bat just like waver away from his body, playing really well. And then, bas, ek do naan ke chakkar mein khatam.
Good one, guys.
चलो all right guys
All right.
Chalo.
All right.
That bombshell.
Leave your disappointing players in the comments, and yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah. And if you're not
See
from
you.
Pakistan, from your own country too.
Yeah. See you next week.
Gautam Gambhir.
Oh, that's
Alright.
a long list. But thanks, guys. It's been great.
All right.
Boys.